Welcome back to another tennis channel. I'm Merle Klein.
I'm Debbie Pachel. You did. Oh, I thought you said tennis channel.
I said chatter.
Oh,
Tennis chatter.
okay.
Well, it's been a while we've done one of these because we've just been busy. But today we're going to be talking about on-court coaching because tennis is the only sport where there's no coaching during the actual match or whatever game. And they actually started, and there's been a lot of controversy over the years because of this. And they recently just started some on-court coaching where the coaches don't come on court, but they're able to signal to them, which they wouldn't be able to do before. They were actually sometimes fined for doing that. But now they have somewhat, but it's still not. So we're gonna just discuss it all. But what are your thoughts? Your first initial thoughts?
Okay, so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not like the coaches are allowed down on the court, right? I think it's that they're sitting in the player's box.
As always.
And it's is it in between changeovers that they're allowed to talk
No,
to them?
because I feel didn't we watch that match where the coach said something to Alcaraz while he was in the middle of a game? And I do feel a lot of times when they're in changeovers, the player's box is sometimes very far away from where the players are sitting, or it's behind them, so it's they can't communicate. So it's I don't really know. I don't get it.
Yeah, so I think, well, like you mentioned, there have been people who've been fined, and very famously CC Pass, who's coached by his dad, and they're always getting accused of coaching. So I think
he's been accused of going to the bathroom in between sets or something, and having his phone and texting his dad. There's obviously, this is accusations because there's no concrete evidence of this, but he's someone who's been very vocal that there should be coaching. Well,
yeah, all right.
Continue.
So I have mixed feelings, right? On the one hand, I think it's pretty cool that tennis is the only sport where you really have to problem solve for yourself, and that is unique, right? So that if you're down, you can still come ahead, and you have to figure out how to strategize to come back against your opponent, right? On the other hand, it is kind of weird when you think about every other sport. You generally have a team that if you're not having a good day, you have a team that can support you, and you can have a coach who can coach you. So my only thing, what I really want to ask you though, is I think it's there's not a lot of equity, right? Because for certain players who make a lot of money, they can have coaches there, and maybe some of the players that are starting out, they won't have the ability to have that. So do you think it's unfair in that aspect?
Well, I think you're jumping a few things, because in my thought, the on-court coaching doesn't really make sense for two reasons. One, when they talk about how every other sport has coaching, football, baseball, basketball, those are all team sports. Tennis is very individual. So let's say swimming, swimmers, Olympics, or whatever other swimming things, they have coaches. But while they're in the middle of a relay, do they have someone coaching them? No. Same thing with gymnastics. They have coaches. But while they're in the middle of doing the bars, do they have coaches saying things to them? No. But after it's over, then they it's the same thing with individual. And that's why with doubles, you'll see players in between every single point they talk, because that's the part of tennis that is together and they're working together. But having a coach, then it doesn't make sense, because tennis is individual, and it's in that moment they have to figure it out themselves.
So you kind of are agreeing with what I'm saying, that that's one of the things that makes tennis special, is them having a problem solve in the moment.
Yeah, but it just doesn't make sense to have a coach. I feel it's not the same thing, because with those coaches in those those other sports, it's a lot of strategizing with like teams, like players like working together. That's kind of like in the moment during a game and during a match. That is what a coach is doing. The coach is not being like, you need to like, let's work on something, which is the point of kind of coaches in tennis, is to like figure out what they need to work on and work on that during practice or whatever. But you know, during a match, like if they're, especially at the professional level, if they can't figure out themselves what they need to do, like they all know what they didn't do, like it's just, but so that's the whole thing, is that tennis, like it's the reason they don't need on-court coaching is because in that moment they don't need to strategize with anyone else. It's just themselves. And that's why with doubles they talk between every point, because they need to strategize, because it is a communication between two people. So it just doesn't really make sense, in my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, I understand. I mean, that's sort of what I'm saying, that like that's, I think, one of the beauties of tennis, really, that you you know, like you always say, tennis is such a mental game, and it takes a lot of resources and energy to kind of say, hey, you know, my opponent is outplaying me, and here's what I need to do to try and combat what their style is. Like this, how do I solve this? And that's why I always think it's really cool when a player is down a set and then they come back and, you know, and win the match. Like that to me is the coolest thing, that they problem solved. And yeah, if they have a, you know, coach doing it, it's not quite the same. And I do worry about that it won't be equitable for everyone, because the more up and coming players aren't going to have the same resources. But I also, what do you think about it being disruptive actually on the court?
Well, this gets to my second thing. The reason why it doesn't make sense, because this whole on-court coaching, it's not actually, like, they're not going on court. It's like in the stands. It's ever so often. They literally like say a few words, do little signals. Like, how is that actually like all he's doing is like signal, like hits his backhand? Like, how is that like it's, there's no point. It's just like, it's so small. Like it's not even relevant. Like I feel like it's so small. It doesn't make sense. And so I feel like the, you know, lower ranked players who might not as good of a coach, I don't think it's going to make that much a difference, because I feel like the coaching, like on court, quotation marks, isn't going to make that much a difference for the players. As for disruptiveness, I feel like it's so short, the signals and stuff. And, you know, we feel like sometimes the coaches do it anyway, signals, or the players do it anyway to signals. So I don't think it's going to be disruptive, because it is like so small, and like it's kind of in a little way
subtle.
Been like that way. I mean, I'm sure once eventually there's going to be something that happen where there's going to be someone on the opposite player, the opponent, somebody to their coach, and then they start arguing. Like, I can imagine that happening.
Oh, that'd be funny. I could see that too. What if there's like a fisticuffs over the coaching? But
I feel like it's so small. Like it just, I don't know.
I understand. I mean, I think that's why they have to do a trial to really see how it plays out, and
which is what they're doing. It's a trial still. Yeah.
And I also think that, you know, if a player doesn't have a coach there, right, because it's expensive to fly a team, then they like should give them a coach.
Well, whoa. Two things. Players, the first person, the one person they would bring is their coach, even like the lowest ranked players. Like the lowest ranked players, if they don't have a coach, they're not in the tournament. Anyway, so yeah, that doesn't make sense. Second, they're not going to just give them a coach. Where is that coming from? They're not just going to, that's even worse, because you have someone that you're not working. Where would they find these coaches? That makes absolutely no sense, Mom. Where did that come from?
It's like a pro bono coach, right? Like
that makes absolutely no sense, Mom. I don't know where that came from.
It'd be a great idea. You could be like, you know,
that would make no sense. That would make no sense. No sense. Oh my God.
Look, just going back to one of our previous podcasts, I think what would be more effective in a game really is to have the Hawkeye, and that makes it better than actually coaching, right?
Yeah, I mean, so this on-court coaching is technically a trial right now, and I feel like if they want to continue it is fine because, as I said, it's not distracting. It's so small, it's subtle. They basically do it anyway, anything. So if they want to continue, it's fine. I feel like but I also feel like they don't need to do it. I think it'd be crazy if they want to try a step forward where, like, in the changeovers, they have the coaches come down. I just feel like I don't know. I
also feel like some of the coaching is not like really coaching. It's not like you said, like in a team sport where somebody's going to say, okay, you pass it to him and throw long or, go for that. I think some of the coaching, like from what I see, it's just like reassuring them, right? It's just like saying, hang in there, don't give up, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's more of that.
On the topic of coaching, as you guys know, I played tennis at my college. And with that, we technically had on-court coaching where the coaches were, like, on court and, like, would come to us during changeovers and talk and stuff. And so I think that's important because we're still kind of amateurs. Like, there a lot of times, sometimes we are not able to see everything ourselves. Coaches can see it better. We're still amateurs, so there's that aspect of why we need it. And I do feel like a lot of the coaching I did have was like reinsurance and just like
reassurance.
Yeah, and trying to like push through and just like whatever. But I feel like, again, this is professional tennis. It's totally different. I mean, it's, different crowd. I do want to talk about different coach, oh my God. I'm forgetting that name. Serena Williams' coach. Patrick. So he had, during that pandemic.
He's not coaching her anymore, though. You know that, right?
Really?
Yeah, he's coaching. You don't know that? He's coaching Halep now.
He's
not with Serena at all. He's with Halep.
Anyway, so during the pandemic, he had these, like, cool tournaments that, like, kind of was totally different with, like, the rules of tennis and stuff. But in between the games or intervals, whatever, they actually had a coaching thing where the players would put, like, headsets on and then, like, their coach could talk to them through a headset. So...
Wait, where was this?
During the pandemic, he had these, like small tournaments that were not, just, like... You know how during pandemic, sometimes they would have, like the small...
exhibition kind
of things? Exhibition tournaments. Matches? But it wasn't, like, he completely changed the rules, and it was, like, kind of like one of those, like, fun tennis things where it was just, like, it was, like, points, and it was just whatever. But I feel like for that, it worked. But then again, though, that was, like, it wasn't, like, a match. Like, the style of play was completely different, and I feel like if they were trying to use the headset things, like, in between changeovers, I feel like that would be so distracting. I mean, when you're watching these players during changeovers, they're sitting there, they take a few sips of their water, or maybe a few bites of banana, but they're really just, like, thinking to themselves, and I think it would take them out of it if they had, like, headsets. Another coaching thing is during the Laver Cup,
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so, I mean, I haven't had that much experience watching the Laver Cup, but, you got your whole, like, it is a team. That one is kind of more of a team sport, closer to, like, what I'm saying, closer, because it's, like, a team. So you have your, like, teammates, right? And then, like, I think John McEnroe is, like, always, like, the coach of, like, the team world or something. So, like, you kind of have, they're shouting things at you. But then again, that is not, even though those matches are more, like, the matches, like, length and style, it's unconventional. It's not a regular match. And so I just feel like trying to include those on-court coachings into regular matches just wouldn't work. So I think if they want to stick how it is with this on-court coaching, in quotation marks again, it's fine because that's what it is.
So, it's funny. I forgot about that for a second. And then before you were talking, I was thinking about the Laver Cup. And is there a Davis Cup too, or did I just make that up?
The Davis Cup is for juniors, I believe.
I don't know, but there are a couple of like team sort of events where there's coaching, but that's position,
not coaching for the Davis.
I think
it's
okay. framed differently, right? It's
that's the only one I would say. It's the Labor Cup. Usually, the other one was just during the pandemic.
But you're not, your level of expectation is different. Like I couldn't see that at the U.S. Open or Wimbledon or anything. It's a different kind of tennis match. So
okay, what are your closing thoughts though?
Sort of like all-star. My closing match is like
matches.
When I say that, okay, can you edit that out? My closing thought is that I kind of like tennis the way it is.
Oh my God! Did you see what it said?
He's withdrawing.
Yeah, sorry. We're watching the Atlantic Open at the same time. And we have it on mute, but Nick Kyrgios just announced that he withdrew. We're going to Washington. We're going to the City Open next week in Washington, D.C., and he's supposed to play. Is he not going to play now, Mom? We bought tickets just to see Nick Kyrgios. What are we going to do?
Well, he must have, look, he's there.
He played last night.
So he obviously expected to play.
He better play next week. We got tickets for 3 days. That was our announcement, is we're going to the City Open next week, and we're going to be there for at least 3 days watching matches.
Yes,
so we're gonna
frequent podcast.
I'm gonna vlog it and stuff, but he better play next week.
Wow.
It's upsetting.
I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed.
He better play next week.
I was so looking forward to seeing this match tonight. I was so looking forward to it.
Okay.
And he's an interesting one to see coached, right? Because
he doesn't have a coach, so he can't have, like...
Do you have to have... Well, that's a good question, hon. Do you have to have technically a real coach, or can you designate your family as a coach?
I think it's not a thing where, like, before a match, you're like, this is my coach. They say it to the ump. Like, I don't think that happens. I think just, like... his player box just like talks back to him and he talks to them. I think it's just, that's like what it is. So anyway, that's how we're going to end this podcast because we're mad that Nick Kyrgios is not playing anymore. We will be going in a week from today. We'll be in DC at the City Open, and that's our big announcement. So comment below your thoughts on on-court coaching and everything. But thank you guys for listening. This is Ro Klein
and Debbie Pachel.
Tennis Chatter, and goodbye.